What's going on YouTube? So it hasn't been all that long since Honda completely redesigned the Pilot. But one very popular thing was missing from that redesign, and it's back for 2025. So, what's new for 2025? And is this still a great pick as a midsize 3-row crossover? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Now, like with every review, let's start things out under the hood for our spec dump. So you'll continue to find one engine option on the 2025 Pilot. That's a 3.5 liter V6, making 285 horsepower. Power is routed through a 10-speed automatic transmission system, and your combined fuel economy is 21 with all-wheel drive.
Now, of course, we're going to be taking this out on a spin later on in this review and getting things like our signature sound level reading. And after that, we will also be talking about the pricing and a new element we're adding to our reviews, predicted resale value and reliability. So you'll certainly want to stay tuned for that.
But before we get into any of that, we need to talk about the exterior, need to talk about those 2025 changes, and take a look at the inside. All right, so the best place I think to start off here is just by talking about what's new for 2025. The big things that are new is that we have a changed up trim structure. So on the bottom end of the lineup, the LX, the base trim level, has been eliminated again. It was gone for a while, it came back, now it's gone again. Sport is now the base trim level for 2025. Now the other thing though that I think a lot of people are going to be very happy about is that the Black Edition is back. And that's at the top of the lineup now above the Elite trim level in the US. So we're glad to see that trim level back. That is going to do some things to the exterior as you would expect. So what you'll notice up in the front with the Black Edition is, of course, we're going to get rid of the chrome, which is standard on all the other trim levels. This is going to be fully blacked out in addition to the blacked out finish on the grille. And you also have Black Edition branding inside of the grille itself. Now we have the Elite today, so down at the bottom, we're going to have a silver accent down here. You got a standard 7.3 inches of ground clearance. By the way, you get more with the Trail Sport off-road variant. Let's take a look at the lighting. This continues to be the same for 2025. So we have reflector, full LED headlights, and these are standard on all versions of the Pilot. You also have the LED turn signal indicator, daytime running light, and we also now have standard LED fog lamps now that the Sport model is the base trim. And then as we move to the back, you continue to find that boxy shape, which is honestly becoming very, very popular again inside of the SUV segment.
Yeah, and I really like the way this looks. We do have a spoiler up top with an exposed rear wiper, and then through the middle we have blacked out Pilot branding. If you choose the Black Edition, you're also going to have a new Black Edition logo down here that kind of spices up the overall design. But Drew went ahead and got inside so we could check out the taillights and see if all of the elements are LED. That's something we do in all of our Car Confections reviews. We do have an LED brake light, incandescent reverse light, and incandescent turn signal. So 1 out of 3 elements are LED. That's going to be across the entire board for Pilot models. And then down here at the lower area, here for the fully loaded Elite model, we do have, this lower piece that's finished in a silver. Black Edition is going to black it out, as you might expect. I also really love the dual trapezoidal integrated exhaust outlets that you get on the higher end models. As far as your tow rating, 3,500 pounds with front drive, 5,000 pounds with all-wheel drive.
Now moving on to our wheels, we have many different choices going from 18 inches to 20-inch alloy wheels. As I mentioned earlier, this is the Elite. This is the finish that we get on this. It's going to be a contrast finish. If you choose that Black Edition, it's going to be the same design, but it's going to be fully gloss black. And speaking of things that would be gloss black, the Black Edition would do that for the mirrors. You also get that on the Sport and the Trail Sport. And in terms of the features, you are going to have standard blind spot monitoring on all versions. Most versions are also going to be heated. And as we move through the trims, you're going to add some additional features such as power folding. And then the Elite and the Black Edition are the only ones that are going to come with auto dimming.
Now here at the side of the Pilot, you're once again going to see that boxy shape, and this is one of the larger offerings you can get in this segment, 199.9 inches in overall vehicle length. Now, of course, there are a few design elements I do want to point out. We do get the rugged matte wheel surrounds on all versions of the Pilot. I would maybe wish that they made them like a piano black for a more premium look, and then we also have roof rails up top. Now, I also want to talk about your safety systems because that's an area where this Pilot is pretty impressive. You're going to get all 4 safety systems as standard on all trim levels, so no matter which Pilot you go for, you're going to be protected and safe for your entire family. I also want to point out for that new Black Edition, you actually have 5 different exterior paint colors, so you're not just limited to getting a fully blacked out model or a white model. You have quite a few different color options. But guys, there are some things to talk about on the inside, so let's go ahead and do that. But first,
if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
All right, now let's move into the interior. First, we'll take a look at the key fob. This is your typical Honda key fob. It's small and lightweight. We have standard smart entry as well as remote start for 2025 since the LX is gone. Now getting inside, grab behind the handle. That'll unlock the door. Fold the mirrors out as well. And take a look inside the interior. Now, of course, this is not an old product, so as expected, there's not many interior changes, but I do want to talk specifically about the Black Edition since that is a new thing for 2025. And setting at the top of the lineup, even above this Elite, means that in addition to having the real leather that you see here with color contrast piping, we have some special touches for the Black Edition. Obviously, black will be the only interior color option for that model, as you would expect, but what's cool about it is that it has red perforation that actually comes through and kind of peeks through, giving a little bit of color into the cabin. I like that, and you also have Black Edition spelled out across the seat itself. Now, in terms of these seats, they're very comfortable as well. The Elite does give you some special color options, including a brown if you want that. And we also have standard 10-way power adjusting seats across the entire lineup for 2025. But let's go ahead and climb inside. Now that I'm fully inside, first things first is going through our interior materials. So we'll start out over here on a door trim. Of course, you do have a nice leather pad through here, leather through here. It is going to be a soft touch plastic along the top, and we have this kind of darkened carbon fiber-like trim running through there. Upper dash is going to be a soft touch plastic. The center section will be finished in a full leatherette. Again, the Black Edition will come with red stitching throughout the cabin. And then down here on the lower panels, this is not going to be leather padded, but everything does fit together very solidly, as we expect from the Honda brand. Now let's go ahead and fire it up with the standard push button start. Now let's dive into the individual features. We'll start off, as always, with our gauge cluster. This is a 10.3-inch gauge cluster. This is going to be the premium arrangement that comes on Elite and Black Edition trim levels. You can customize it with several different functions over here on the side. Otherwise, you're going to get a half analog, half digital setup. Above that, you're also going to find a head-up display, which has nice and large graphics. Got rain sensing wipers, and then taking a look at the steering wheel, we have a nice leather wrapped steering wheel. It is heated on Elite, Black Edition, and Trail Sport, but it will always be manual, tilt, and telescoping. Now, this is a practical SUV after all, so let's talk about interior storage. As you'd expect, it's going to be pretty excellent, especially up here in our center console. You'll notice it is loaded down with donuts because this is Car Confections. We like to do the donut test after all, and this fits in 20 donuts. So not quite the full 2 dozen, which is the maximum score. Something like the Grand Highlander can do 2 dozen, but it falls 4 short of that. Still an excellent score. We have our 2 cup holders up there. Nice large rubber lined area with this side being a wireless phone charging pad on the EXL trim level and above. Got your USB connections, and we can't forget about our passenger storage shelf, so that they still have a place to stick their phones or whatever objects they want up there. That is also lit in red if you choose the Black Edition. Now, as we come over here to the shifter, typical Honda electronic push button style. Just press down D for drive, press down again if you want to shift manually with the paddle shifters on the steering wheel. When we head into reverse, almost all the trims are going to come with front and rear parking sensors, but you will need to choose an upper end version if you want this 360-degree camera system. As you can tell, we have active trajectory, you have the nice overhead view, you can change your angles over there as well. And if you choose the Trail Sport, that's also going to work off-road. And then speaking of off-road, we have hill descent control, you have your drive mode controls, this is your auto start stop button, and then you got your electronic parking brake and brake hold. Moving on up, we have our climate controls. Honda makes this very simple as always. Nice physical knobs here to control the 3-zone automatic climate, which comes on EXL trim levels and above. All the trim levels, though, are going to have 3-stage heated seats. If you want seat ventilation, you need to choose the top trim levels, so that would be the Elite or the Black Edition. And as we rise above, we also have a physical control for our audio system. So you've got a few different speaker counts that you can get as you move through the trim levels. Obviously, we have the top option, which is a 12-speaker Bose sound system. And let's give it a sample right now. Overall, this system fills up the cabin nicely. In typical Bose fashion, it is going to be a bass-heavy sound system if that's what you like. All right, let's take a look at our displays now. So this isn't changing for 2025. That means you'll continue to find a 7-inch display on the base Sport trim level. Everything else will come with this 9-inch display. This is going to be running kind of the older style Honda Link system, so it's not going to have the Google apps built in like you find on the new Honda Accord. Nevertheless, you have your physical buttons over here to control some of the functions. You have the things that a lot of people are going to be looking for, including wireless Android Auto, wireless Apple CarPlay. We also have built-in navigation right there. Up top, auto dimming mirror with our HomeLink universal remotes built in. Then I'll go ahead and open up our panoramic sunroof. We get that shade all the way back. As you can see, the front part of this does open up as well.
Now, when it comes to vehicles like this, the rear seat areas are extremely important because if you buy a Pilot, you're most likely going to be hauling around someone in your family as well. So as far as the rear seat area is concerned, we're looking at about 40.8 inches of legroom, 40.2 inches of headroom, and those are very good space figures. That's one of the better options in the entire segment. And with the seat adjusted to Drew's position, I'm still sitting at around 7 inches of additional knee space. I'm 5'9" for reference, and the seat is adjusted to someone who's 5'8". My feet can easily slide up underneath of the seat, and I do also want to point out that your seats do slide forward and back quite a good distance. They don't go all the way up to touch the seat back, though. And then as far as the recline, quite nice as well. Now, you're probably noticing these seats. We have the bench seating configuration. That's actually standard on all versions of the Honda Pilot. So you have 8-passenger seating, which is really quite nice. But that's not the only trick up its sleeve, because this actually has the on-demand seating system. So you can actually take this middle seat completely out and stow it in the cargo area, or you can have this bench seat set up. Now, you can also just kind of pull that little string there, and that's going to kind of fold it down and allow you to have this really nice captain's chair setup. You have a nice armrest, you have 2 cup holders, and you have a little storage cubby right here. So this was originally a feature on the Acura MDX that they brought to the Pilot, and this is going to be included on Touring and Elite grades of this model, and it's one of the very unique things about this Honda Pilot compared to some of the other competition, so do keep that in mind. Now I'm going to fold this seat back up so we can take a look at some of the features here. We do have vents on the top. Down below that we have our own climate controls. If we choose the Elite model or Black Edition, we're going to have heated rear seats. Down below that we have a household style outlet. We also have 2 charging USB ports, so lots of connections. And I also want to point out the seat back pocket. So you have a seat back pocket here, you have a special slot for a phone right here, and you also have another seat back pocket. It's a very practical vehicle, and we noticed that after we lived with it for a full 2 weeks. Now turning over to the door trim, we do have rear window sunshades on actually the vast majority of trim levels. Dropping below that, we have some leatherette, leather armrest portion. Then we have a lot of cup holders and a lot of storage. As you can see, I have my Stanley water bottle in one of those front cup holders, so even a big cup like a Stanley can fit in the door trim. So that's a very nice thing for families who have a lot of Stanleys. And let's check out the third row as well. So Honda's made it real easy to get back here. You just press that button. That's going to electronically slide the seat up and out of the way. And sitting in the third row of this Honda Pilot is really quite the joy, because this is one of the largest third rows you can get in the entire segment. 32.5 inches of overall legroom. We're going to be sitting in around 38 inches of headroom. As I mentioned earlier, I'm 5'8" for reference, and this seat is slid all the way back, and look at how much room I have. I mean, I even have about an inch of spare knee space, which is pretty impressive. My feet can slide up underneath the seat. The only thing I will say is the thigh support is a little bit lacking. I wish the seat bottom was raised up a little bit more, but overall, I'm quite comfortable. The headroom is good as well. As far as features, we have vents on the side, 2 cup holders, a USB port as well, and on our third row rating scale, because of all of that, I'm going to say this is fit for adults. And walking up to the cargo area, let's see how much you can store with your family adventures. And I do want to point out you have a power tailgate on EXL trim levels and above. If you choose Touring or Elite or the new Black Edition, you'll have the hands-free function as well. Now, as far as this area is concerned, we're going to have quite a bit of space. We're looking at around 18 cubic feet behind the third row of seats, about 49 cubic feet if I reach up here and fold the third row seats down, and behind the second row, and then as a maximum, we're looking at 87 cubic feet. So as far as how that compares to the rivals, that is going to be one of the largest offerings. It's pretty similar to Hyundai Palisade, Kia Telluride. Do keep in mind, though, that Toyota Grand Highlander and the all-new Chevy Traverse and Acadia will be a little bit larger, but not by a significant measure. I do want to point out you can't fold the second row from the cargo area, so I'm going to have to go up there and do it manually. The second row does fold 40-20-40 split folding, and it is completely flat with the floor. And of course, here at Car Confections, we want to give all the measures to you all. So how much space from the driver's seat to the rear of the cargo area? 84 inches of overall length. Let's do from behind the second row, 47 inches of overall length. And let's see how much width we have. We have 45 inches of overall cargo width, which does compare favorably to a lot of options. Down below, I do want to point this out. Look at how much space you have. That's actually because that's where that middle seat can be stowed. You can throw that middle seat fully back here and have full cargo capacity, or you can just use it for additional underfloor storage. Now, your spare tire is integrated underneath of that, as you can see text-wise, and you also have a cool walk-away feature. If you press that button right there, walk away from the vehicle, it's going to sense that you walked away and close the tailgate. That is a Touring and above feature, and something that, once again, we saw originally on the Acura MDX, and now it's came to the Honda Pilot. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the 2025 Honda Pilot. In this review, we'll be talking about quite a few different things, or rather in this test drive, we'll be talking about quite a few different things, as you can see on the screen right now, including getting that sound level reading. But first, we're going to go ahead and start with a hard acceleration.
Alright, and that was accelerating up a hill to 60 miles per hour. Now, obviously, you can hear by the tone of the engine, this is a V6. As we mentioned at the spec dump, Honda continues to do just a straight V6. There's no other option. They don't do a turbo 4-cylinder or anything like that. Obviously, a lot of the competition at this point is moving to 4-cylinders, and it's certainly good to feel that smoothness as you accelerate with this V6.
Yeah, I think we may have mentioned it throughout this video already, but we lived with a Honda Pilot, a 2024, for a full, over 2 weeks on a vehicle loan, and this thing is so refined. This engine is just very, very refined. It feels like it's plopped right out of an Acura MDX into this Honda Pilot, which is certainly a good thing because, like Drew said, with the vast majority of competition moving to turbo 4-cylinders, sometimes they can have a little bit of an unrefined edge to them, whereas this is just incredibly refined.
And to remind you guys what the power is, this 3.5 liter V6 makes 285 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque. That's a class competitive amount. Just be aware that you don't have any type of high-powered option. We recently have just tested out the Grand Highlander, that being the Hybrid Max. That's significantly more powerful when you factor in the electric motors and the turbocharged engine that has. So just keep that in mind. Also, I think since I mentioned hybrid, it's a good time to just go ahead and say the Pilot does not offer a hybrid version. Hopefully, when they do like a full mid-cycle refresh on this model, they'll be able to add a hybrid. But as of now, they don't have that option. As far as the transmission is concerned, we have Honda's in-house developed 10-speed automatic, nice and smooth transmission, also very sure of itself. It can just kind of skip around different gears and always keeps you right in the power band. We also mentioned in the spec dump that most trims come standard with front-wheel drive. You do also have the optional all-wheel drive system, which is a very capable all-wheel drive system. We remember because we did go off-roading in the Trail Sport, and
we did.
We went on a trail that I thought there is no way a Honda Pilot is going to make it, and we made it.
Sedona, Arizona, for sure. I also do want to point out all-wheel drive is standard equipment on the Trail Sport Elite and Black Edition models. So, those 3 trim levels will come standard with all-wheel drive. And as far as your fuel economy is concerned, since we do just have the one engine option, no hybrid variant, we're going to be sitting at 22 miles per gallon for the front-wheel drive model, 21 mpg combined with the all-wheel drive model, and then the Trail Sport is rated at 20 mpg. Now, if you want to learn about our real-world fuel economy over the 2 weeks that we sampled out of 2024, you can go watch that video where we talk about what we got over the 14 days that we were with the vehicle. Alrighty, and let's go ahead and get into our slam dunk and airball for the 2025 Pilot. Our favorite element, our least favorite element. Drew, do you want to kick us off with our slam dunk?
Yeah, slam dunk for 2025 is that the Black Edition is back. We're glad to see that trim level back. This new generation just didn't have it, here in the U.S. at least. I know some Canadians have reminded us. They said, hey, it does have a Black Edition, you're lying. No, the American version has not had a Black Edition until now, and we're glad to have it back.
All right, and then as far as our airball is concerned, it's going to be the same thing that we said in the 24 and probably in the 23 as well. The tech is just a little bit weird. This little small display, we really want them to update it. I do feel confidently when they refresh this Pilot, they will give it the larger screen, hopefully. Fingers crossed. But for now, it's just way too small for the segment, especially on this fully loaded Elite that costs $55,000. That's not really competitive with the rest of the rivals. As we speed up to 55 miles per hour, I do want to get our sound level reading for this Honda Pilot. .1 decibels is our official Car Confection sound level reading, going 55 miles per hour. And we don't have to sit here and guess how that relates to some of those main rivals like the new Toyota Grand Highlander, because it's actually posted on our website at carconfections.com/sound level readings. And trust us, we review a lot of vehicles in this segment, so you'll want to see how this stacks up. Now, we do get very consistent Honda Pilot sound level readings. This one's going to be a little bit on the quieter end of our Honda Pilot setting or readings, but you know, it's still going to be in pretty much the middle of the pack when it comes to overall quietness. That's one area where Honda typically struggles a little bit, is a super quiet cabin. And you will notice that other rivals like, you know, the Hyundai Palisade, the Traverse, the Highlander, the Grand Highlander, all of those vehicles are going to come in a little bit quieter than this model. And of course, this is a family SUV, so let's also talk about ride quality real quickly. I mean, this thing is fantastic. We've said it in previous Honda Pilot reviews. That does not change for 2025 when you hit a bump. It does a fantastic job of soaking it up. These seats are incredibly supportive over long road trips, with which we tested out in person. So I think you're going to be nothing but impressed with this Honda Pilot when it comes to that area.
By the way, even though it's, driving dynamics not a focus of this Pilot, I do want to point out that the steering is really good. Honda always does a great job, I think, making steering systems, even if they're lightweight like it is here in the Pilot. It's very precise and gives you good kind of feedback as to where your wheels are positioned.
And one last thing before we head into resale value and reliability, as well as some of the pricing information, I do want to point out that Honda's signature warranty applies here. It's going to be a 3-year, 36,000-mile basic warranty, 5-year, 60,000-mile powertrain warranty. They do also include 2 years and 24,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. And let's go ahead and talk pricing for this 25 Honda Pilot. Now, prices do rise a little bit for the 2025 model year. And as far as notable things, I talk about the Black Edition does have standard all-wheel drive and starts at $54,280. Now, this particular tester, as you can see, we have the 2025 Pilot all-wheel drive Elite, $52,780, plus the paint color Destination. We're sitting at $54,630. And if you're looking to buy a Honda Pilot or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. Now, why you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price on your new vehicle. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealer negotiation. If you'd like to take advantage of that, a link is provided in our video description. So now it's time to talk about the very important predicted resale value and reliability figures. Now, first up, let's go ahead and talk about resale value. Now, as an economics graduate myself, Drew and I took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Honda Pilot's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years, this Honda Pilot will be worth 64.7% of its original value, and after 10 years, 34.3%. That means that after 5 years, we estimate this to be worth around $34,000, and after 10 years, around $18,500, which actually puts this Honda as the #1 brand for resale value based on our calculations. So that's certainly going to save you quite a bit of money when you go to sell this vehicle.
We've also done the same for combined reliability by developing the Combined Reliability Index. That's going to take data from a bunch of trusted automotive reliability sources and combine them. Based on this ranking, Honda is rated above average and is actually our 3rd highest rated brand in our index.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale values and reliabilities, as well as our methodology, go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a vehicle is a big decision, and you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. And guys, that's going to be where we leave off on this in-depth, one of the first reviews of the 2025 Honda Pilot. If you enjoyed learning about what's new for the 2025 Pilot and found this video helpful, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you help give us the opportunity to do this as a career, and we can come out and, see the latest 2025 Honda Pilot and tell you guys about the changes. So by subscribing, you really do play a pivotal role in the amount of content that we're able to make. If you're already a fan and subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. You mean a lot to us, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.